Hello BookTube, hello friends, welcome to Lizzie Vay Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and we are halfway through the month of August. So even though today is Friday as I'm filming this, I'm probably not going to upload it today. I'm just going to call it a mid-month wrap-up and also let you know what I'm currently reading and then show you what I have checked out right now from the library. So let's get started. So for the month of August so far, I have finished 7 books. All of them have been audio except for one. I have been slowly chinking away at my print books. Some of you guys may remember at the beginning of June I sort of started a new reading strategy where I was reading a little bit out of a lot of different books, and for the month of June I tried starting a new book every day. I missed a few days, but I got started on a lot of books, and then I sort of lost my momentum for the month of July, mainly because I was in the hospital almost the entire month, and then for part of the month I was traveling to and from Oklahoma. And so finally, now that we're home from the hospital, I have picked back up on the print books that I hadn't finished yet. Now, I did finish several print books. I finished some of them in June, some of them I carried over into July, and now some of them that I started in June I'm still reading, and I have picked most of those back up and have made good progress on them, except for 2 of them. And those 2 are books that I still want to read, but one of them had to go back to the library, and the other one is a little bit longer, and it's my own book, so I'm not in any rush to get it done. So let's go over what I finished and what I'm currently reading, and then a few things that I have checked out from the library, as well as some books that I want to get to in the next few weeks, especially what I hope to finish by the end of August. So some of the books I finished in August I'll have to show you a picture of because I only have 3 of them in physical form. The first one was an audio book called Jukebox, Joyride by Jacob Stein, and this was an Audible original presentation. It was a really cute time travel adventure. It sort of reminded me a little bit of Bill and Ted. It was just a fun little trip through time. It was music themed, and it was very short, and I really enjoyed it. The only print book that I have finished so far in the month of August is Hope by Lori Copeland. I have it here in this bind-up. This is the first 3 books in the Brides of the West series by Lori Copeland. I read Faith in June in previous years, and I finally have finished Hope now. I didn't read them out of this bind-up. It is a pretty large, heavy book, and I enjoy having it on my shelves, but I found that all 6 of the books from this series are available in ebook form on Hoopla, so that is how I have read all 3 of them. I do have another bind-up of books 4 through 6, and I hope to go ahead and read the next book, Glory, this summer as well, because it will fit one of the challenges for the Summer Romance Book Bingo. So the next book I finished was for book club, even though I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get to go. We were home, but it's just really next to impossible for me to get Emily in and out of the car by myself since she's not walking yet. So I didn't try to go, but I did finish the book in time. The book was Anatomy of a Scandal by Sarah Vaughan, and it's not a book I would have picked up on my own. I didn't particularly enjoy it. It was definitely very scandalous. It was centered around a family, a man and wife. They had known each other since college, and he was accused of a crime, and his wife has to decide whether she's going to be supportive of him, whether she believes that he's innocent, and it takes you through the journey of that crime and their history and his past and all of that. So it's very interesting. It is what the title says. It is an anatomy of a scandal. The author goes through every part of the scandal and dissects it all, and it is very well put together. What I didn't enjoy, of course, you guys know, is all the foul language. There was definitely some foul language. There was some graphic content, and so it's not a horrible book. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, and it's really not my kind of book. It's not a thriller. It is just simply what it says. It is a story about a scandal, really more than one scandal, and that's really about all I could tell you without giving away the story. The rest of the month were really much more enjoyable reads for me. I listened to on audio the Summerhill Secrets Volume 1 by Beverly Lewis. I have Volumes 1 and 2 on my shelves, and I discovered that all of these stories are on Hoopla on audio, so I was excited about that. They are divided up by story, so each of the 5 stories in each volume is a 3-hour audiobook. So I had to use 5 borrows on Hoopla just to read this one book, but it's a chunker, and I listened to this all while I was at the hospital with my daughter Emily, and it was really good. This is a YA series. There are 5 stories in each book, and this is the first one. It is about a girl who is 14, I believe. She's not Amish, but she lives in Amish country, which makes me wonder if this book is partially autobiographical, because I know that that's the biography of Beverly Lewis. She grew up in Amish country but is not Amish herself, and so I wonder if there's a little bit of her own story in this. But it is really a sweet story. There are 5 different sections or stories, and each could stand alone, but they do build on each other. So if you're going to read them all, you may as well read them in order. I really, really enjoyed these much more than I even thought I would. And in fact, I'm going to encourage my daughter to read this if she will. I don't know. She hasn't read much of anything lately. She did read 4 or 5 books at the beginning of the summer, and most of those were rereads. So anyway, she's pretty busy with Color Guard and all of that, but I am going to recommend this to her before I pass it on to someone else, because I think it was really a good YA book. Very clean. They're Christian stories, and I just thought they were excellent. The next two I'll have to show you pictures of. One was The Lightkeeper's Bride by Colleen Coble. This is book 2 in the Mercy Falls series. I stumbled onto this series because of Sarah's Audible Romance Challenge, and I listened to The Lightkeeper's Daughter by Colleen Coble a month or 2 ago, and I noticed that the second book was also on the Audible Romance package. It's a trilogy. The third book is on Audible, but it's not included in the romance package. So I'm going to have to decide whether I'm going to purchase it or just read it in print. I saw some kind of negative reviews about the audio version of the third book, so that makes me think that I don't want to purchase it. But anyway, I definitely want to read it. It's a really good trilogy. There is a little bit of overlap of the characters, although you could easily read book 2 without reading book 1. I believe the stories go chronologically, but the title of each book is referring to a different lighthouse keeper. So these were historical books. I'm not sure exactly the time frame, maybe early 1900s, and I really enjoyed it. I had not read any Colleen Coble before. She's been on my radar. I own maybe 3 or 4 of her books, and I had not even heard of this series, and I'm really glad that I've started it. And then the 6th book is The Beach House by Mary Alice Monroe. This is another book I had not heard of, but my book club that meets outside of the library is reading this summer, and it was very good. It's so funny because several of the book club members had already read it, but some said that they would be willing to read it again, or that they would go ahead and continue with the series. I think there's 4 or 5 books in the series, and almost everyone who had read it said something like, "Is that the book with the turtle lady?" And someone else would go, "Yes, that's it." So I knew it was going to have something to do with turtles, and it was such a wonderful book. I really enjoyed it. It is about a woman in her later years in life and her daughter who has not seen her mother much in the last 20 years, but her mother is dying, and she writes to her daughter and asks her to come and visit her. She doesn't tell her that she's dying. She just asks if she would please come and visit her. So she does. She comes to the beach house, and the story goes from there. The mother is very much into the saving of the turtles and helping the baby turtles get to the water and guarding the nests and all of that. And it's just a fascinating story about the turtles as well as the drama that's happening within this family, and I loved it. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. My library has all the rest of the books on CD, so that is definitely something that I'll be listening to in my car in future months. and I'm really glad that I listened to the first one. The first one, incidentally, is on the Audible Romance package. I should be calling it the Audible Escape package because the name has changed, but it's still the same deal. It's the same thing. They just took the word romance out of it because I guess they thought that would make it more accessible and more people would consider joining up if it didn't have the word romance in it. I personally don't care. A lot of books that I did not expect to be there are on there. Books that I never really thought about being considered romances are on there, like the Mark of the Lion trilogy by Francine Rivers is on there. And you know, there's several books. There's some cozy mysteries that have a romantic element. There's even some medical thrillers that I had no idea would be on there. So anyway, I don't need to get off on that tangent. It's just more than you would expect, I think, unless you check it out. And then the book I have finished most recently is definitely going to be one of my favorite books of 2019. I also listened to this for book club. It's for next month's book club, so hopefully I will get to go. And this is A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Meissner. This was so good. This tells two stories, both relating to tragedies that happened in New York City. One was the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire of 1911. I would say that probably 2/3 of the book is centered around that story and that setting. There is a nurse who knew someone who was in that fire. She saw him jump from the window. She felt guilty because he was there waiting to give her a tour and show her around, and he wouldn't have been there that day if she hadn't asked him to, or he wouldn't have been on that top floor. So she has carried a lot of guilt for that. Then the other story is about 9/11. The story itself takes place in 2011 when the 10-year anniversary of 9/11 is being remembered, and the story is about a woman whose husband was killed in 9/11, and she feels responsible because her husband was meeting her there. So she felt a lot of guilt, and she was able to escape because something which you learn about in the story caused her to be late, so she didn't get into the building before the plane hit. She really just hadn't come to terms with everything. And this book tells the story of that. It's all tied together with a scarf that has a marigold print on it. And so it's just a fantastic story. I loved it, and I would definitely recommend it. So what am I currently reading? Well, I have 2 audiobooks currently on the go. I just started Sense and Sensibility. This is for 2 different challenges. Originally, I was going to listen to this last month for the Audible Escape category challenge. One of the categories for July was Regency. So I had this on my TBR, but I didn't get to it. And so this month in August, Krista from Books and Jams is hosting an Austen in August readathon where she is encouraging everyone to read a Jane Austen book or a Jane Austen inspired book. So I am counting this for that. I have started it. I got a few hours into it and started it over because sometimes if a book is difficult to understand or if I'm not following it very well, I still like to go ahead and get a little farther into it so that I can kind of see where it's going, and then I go back and catch the parts that I missed. So that's kind of what I've had to do with this one, but I think it's going to be really good, and I've never seen any movie of this or read it before, and so I'm looking forward to continuing it. And in my car, I just started this last night. This is for my mystery book club at the library, Sanibel Flats by Randy Wayne White. This is the first book in the Doc Ford mystery series, and I really don't know anything about it except that I believe it's set in Florida, and I have heard that he's a Florida author, so that's one of the reasons why we picked this series, and we're starting at the beginning, and I hope that I enjoy it. So I currently have 13 books that I have started, and so the other 11 are all print books. Some of them I started back in June, a couple of them I may have started in July, and I have started one just a couple of days ago. So I'm still continuing to start books, not every day, but enough to where I kind of want to keep 8, 10, 12 books on my currently reading list because sometimes I'm in the mood to pick up something and other times I'm not in the mood for that at all. So it's nice to have different choices to pick up, and I don't always want to start something from the beginning. I have a hard time starting books sometimes. So if I can just make myself read a chapter and then wait a day and read another chapter, then by the time I've gotten, 4 or 5 chapters read, then I am getting a little more invested in the story so that I want to pick it up. But it's hard for me to want to pick up something if I haven't started it yet. Does that make sense? I don't know if it makes sense. Anyway, so let me show you the ones that I have checked out from the library that I have the most read in. This is one of the few that I started in July because I wanted to. This is book 5 in the Butternut Lake series, The Light in Summer by Mary McNear. And I'm not real far into this yet. Again, this is one of those books where I'm having to just kind of try to read a chapter a day until I really get invested in it. But I'm invested enough in the series to know that I love it. So I definitely wanted to get to this one this year. And maybe the next one, or I might save the next one for next year. But it would be great to check another series off my list. I don't know if she's done writing the series or not, but currently there is one more that I haven't read after this one. I also have this one checked out from the library that I did not get done for the reading rush. This was going to be my book with non-human characters, another series that I'm already invested in, so I knew I would enjoy it. This is The Nocturnals, Book 3, The Fallen Star by Tracey Hecht, and this is a book about 3 nocturnal animals. We have a fox, a sugar glider, and a pangolin. The fox is the leader. She's the one who is really the brains of the Nocturnal Brigade, and the sugar glider is the comedy relief. He is hilarious. And then Tobin the pangolin is a little more timid. He is there for the group and he wants to do what the group needs, but he is a little more timid than the rest of them. And together they make a fantastic group, and I'm really enjoying this so far. I just picked this back up a couple of days ago, and I'm trying to read about 3 chapters a day to finish this one by the end of the month. I've started this book the most recently because I've already shown this in 2 or 3 videos, and it's going to be featured in another video soon because I am doing a short series of videos about books with fantastic titles. I was drawn to this both because of the title and the author. This author, Lorna Landvik, is an author that I have been collecting. I have read only a few of her books, and normally I would have picked up a different book, maybe one of her backlist, but this is her newest one, and I was so drawn in by the title that I couldn't resist starting it. And I actually started it yesterday, and it is really, really good. It is about a newspaper office who has a woman, I think she's in her 80s, and she's been writing a human interest column for I think about 50 years. And she's had a stroke, and so the people at the newspaper have decided, while she's recovering, hopefully she will recover, they have decided to start back from the beginning and run her old columns from the 60s. And it's just really a great book. So I will look forward to telling you more about it as I continue it, but so far it is a book that I would recommend. I've got one other library book on my currently reading list, but I have not picked it back up since I rechecked it from the library. This is one of the 2 I was telling you about that I have not read from in a while. This is The Little Tea Shop on Main by Jody Thomas. It's Jody Thomas's newest book. I love Jody Thomas, and I'm super excited to read this. I got started on it in June. I kept renewing it until I had to take it back to the library, and so while I was at the hospital, I didn't try to check it back out again because I had so many other things on my reading plate. And so now that I'm home, I've checked it out again, and I hope to get back into it and actually finish it before I have to take it back this time. I have some other library checkouts that I haven't started, but I'll show you those at the end of the video. So I have 3 ebooks that I have started. 2 of them I hope to finish in the month of August, and I'll show you pictures of them. One is on Hoopla. It is a book by Lilac Mills. It's called Summer on the Turquoise Coast. This is kind of a romantic comedy. It's not really my favorite type of comedy because it involves an 80-something-year-old grandmother who is misbehaving, but the gist of the book is that she's trying to show her granddaughter that she needs to loosen up a little bit. She needs to live a little, maybe not be quite so tight anal, I don't know. Anyway, the reason this is probably not the exact book for me or the best book for me is because I don't really approve of everything the grandmother's doing. I do believe that you should live every day to its fullest, but not in the way that the grandmother is doing it. So, I don't know, I have some mixed feelings about the book, but I did get in touch with the author because I really do like the covers, and there was something I was drawn to, but I couldn't decide which one I should start with. I couldn't decide if there was a certain reading order or if there was a series or what. So I just sent a message to the author, and she told me I should start with this one. So that is what I have done. So if it sounds like something you would enjoy, then you should definitely pick it up. I think that most people would consider it a fun book. I just don't necessarily agree with all of the things that the characters are doing, but I think it will end well, and I definitely want to read more books by this author. So anyway, if you have access to Hoopla, you can get this on Hoopla for free through your library. And then a novella that I purchased for my Kindle is the only book I haven't read in the Amish Quilt Shop mystery series. This is a prequel novella to the series called Plainly Murder, and I am only maybe 3 chapters into it. It's not a long book. I just haven't really spent the time on it. Since I bought it, there's no great rush, and the Lilac Mills book I've already had to renew, and I don't want to have to renew it again. So I am trying to get both of them finished by the end of the month. I think I can, but I just need to spend a little bit more time with my Kindle. I really think I could finish The Turquoise Coast and Plainly Murdered this month. I just, like I said, I've told you in other videos, I rarely pick up my Kindle. And lately when I've been picking up my Kindle, it's because I've been listening to an audiobook on my phone and working a jigsaw puzzle on my Kindle. So I'm sure I can get this done. I just need to spend a little bit more time on it, maybe read a chapter a day between now and the end of the month, and I'll have it finished. And then the other book that I have started on my Kindle, but I haven't picked it up recently, is Stranger Tides by Jack Castle, mainly because I've just been kind of in more of the romance mood, and when I'm not reading something for the romance book bingo, I've been reading Sunshine State books or a book club book or something like that, and I just have a hard time getting to it. But I really do want to get that one read so that I can read the newest one, and it's a really fun, creepy series. The series starts with Stranger World, and this is book 3, Stranger Tides, so I definitely want to get to it and finish it up as soon as possible. Okay, then the rest of my current reads are books that I own. The one I am farthest along in is City Girl by Lori Wick. This is book 3 in the Yellow Rose trilogy. All 3 of these books centers around a brother in the Rawlings family and their love interest. So in this book, the love interest is obviously a city girl. She has come to the country sort of for an adventure, and she is not interested in a romance at all. This is a Christian book, so I have gotten to the point now where she has accepted Christ, which is wonderful. And it's funny because one of the things she was concerned about, and she asked her landlady, you know, now that I'm a Christian, does that mean I have to get married? And she's like, what would make you think that? And, you know, it's because she's looking at, you know, traditional families and everything. And so it's interesting what people think about Christianity. I don't know. Anyway, this so far is a really good book, and I have enjoyed the whole trilogy. I listened to the first 2 on audio, and I didn't really care for the narrator, so I'm happy to be reading this one in print, and I'm really enjoying it. Another book that I had hoped to be farther along in at this point, but I am about half done. I'm trying to read like 3 or 4 chapters a day because I really want to get this one done before the end of the month and get going on the 3rd book in the series. This is Classified as Murder by Miranda James. It's book 2 in the Cat in the Stacks mystery series. And the reason I want to get the 3rd one read as soon as possible is because after that I can listen to all the rest of the series on audio. And I have the last newest book for review, and I want to get that review done as soon as possible. So because I can get books 4 through 11 on Hoopla, I would love to get enough read of this 3rd book by the end of the month so I could go ahead and use the rest of my Hoopla borrows that I will have to use up at the end of the month on the Cat in the Stacks books. But if I'm not far enough along in book 3, then they'll be wasted because I'm not going to start book 4 until I have book 3 read, and this is just book 2. Does that make sense? So anyway, there's a method to my madness. So I need to make this a priority, get this done, and get moving on book 3 so that I can go ahead and check out a few of the rest of the series by the end of the month, by the last day of the month. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Then another book that I hardly read any this summer, and I ought to be able to breeze through this. This is a middle grade book. I picked this out for the last Buzzword-a-thon because the buzzwords were when, what, where, how, and who, I think. This is When Life Gives You OJ by Erica Pearl, about a girl who has a practice dog made from an orange juice jug so that she can show her parents that she can be responsible enough to get a real dog. Sounds like a great premise. I've just had a hard time getting into the story, so I need to just make myself read a chapter a day, and eventually I'll get it done. And then the only other book on my currently reading list that I have started, but I have sort of lost my momentum, is Maud by Melanie J. Fishbane. Part of the reason I lost my momentum on this one is because it's pretty chunky, and I didn't carry it to the hospital very much because it was heavy. I had a library copy checked out initially, but then I purchased my own copy from barnesandnoble.com with the gift card I had, and so I'm really excited to have my own copy. But as you guys know, whenever it's not a library book, some of the pressure to get something read goes away. And I hate that that's the case, but I feel pressure to get my library books read first, or books that have been on my shelf the longest, books that I want to get rid of sooner, you know, or books for a readathon or whatever. And so sometimes books on your shelf get lost in the shuffle or left by the wayside, and I don't want that to happen with this. I have really been looking forward to reading this, and I'm gonna keep plugging away at it. I do have one graphic novel that's currently checked out from Hoopla that is going to expire in just a couple of days. It's called Herding Cats, and I don't even remember the author or the artist, but I will put a picture of it here. It just looks hilarious. I looked it up today and saw that it's the third in a series, but I don't think they have to be read in order. But I will look on Hoopla and see if the other books from the series are there as well, and I may as well pick those up too. But meanwhile, I want to get this one read. I love cats, and the whole idea of herding cats, it just really rings true in my life. So this looks really cute. I do have a few other books checked out from the library that I want to show you that I hope to get to soon. This is a new book. I found this on the pre-pub list at my library, and I put myself down for it, and then it was released very recently, and I got to check it out. This is Sharing Love Abundantly in Special Needs Families by Gary Chapman and Jolene Philo. Now, Gary Chapman is the author of The 5 Love Languages, and this is a 5 love language book, but it is geared towards special needs families, and I love that because that's my family. So I am so excited to read it. I've already read the introductory portions, and it's a very short book, so I want to be able to get the information from this. I know that it will be motivational and inspirational. I want to get my husband to read it, and maybe even my daughter Katie. So I think this is going to be a really great book. And then 2 of the Sunshine State books for this school year that I have not read, I currently have checked out from the library. I had this one checked out in June, and I took it back, didn't get it read, so I hope to get it read soon. Ethan Marcus Stands Up. This is by Michelle Weber Hurwitz, who is the author of one of my favorite middle grade books of all time, The Summer I Saved the World in 65 Days. So I know this is going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it. This one I'm not sure about, but we'll see. It's on the Sunshine State list, and I'm going to read it. It is called Playing Atari with Saddam Hussein, and it says it's based on a true story. It's by Ali Fudhill, and I'll let you know about it after I read it. And then I was going through some of my bookshelves yesterday trying to make some space, and I pulled off a couple of series that I'm going to share with my sister's grandson Tate. I hope that he has enjoyed the books that I've sent him so far. I hope I haven't overloaded him too much. I did send him the whole Guardians of Ga'Hoole series last year or year before, and I found one that I had saved back that I haven't read yet, and I want to go ahead and send him this book. It's called The Rise of a Legend, and it's kind of a companion book. It's not one of the numbered books in the series. So I want to go ahead and get this one read and include this with the other books that I want to send to him. So this is on my soon-to-be-read TBR. And then I thought I would really like to make another attempt to join the Miss Read Along. It started back up in July, and they're reading the first 6 books in the Fair Acre series from July through December. And the first book is Village School, which I own, so I didn't get it read in July. I want to go ahead and try to get this one done. I don't own the second book, which is Village Diary, but I'm pretty sure the ebooks are on Hoopla, so as soon as I finish this one, I can check out the ebook and go ahead and continue with the read-along. Unfortunately, hardly any of these books are on audio. At least if they are, I haven't been able to find them, not even on Audible. I think Audible has 1 or 2, and Hoopla has 1 or 2. But anyway, I definitely want to read more of the misread books, and so I thought for now I will put the Thrush Green series on hold and try to read these with the group. Incidentally, the Misread Along is on Instagram. All you have to do if you want to join in is follow the hashtag MisReadAlong. And then I've got a couple of books from my TBR jar. If you recall, last year in September, I started a TBR jar for some mostly nonfiction books that I think I can read and then get rid of. And I have only read 1 batch of those. The second batch is sitting on my cart needing to be read, and so I picked out 2 of them and I took them with me to the hospital this last time. I haven't started either one, but I want to get to them, so I'm keeping them on the stack, and I'll let you know about them when I get started on them. So I'm also still reading books for the Summer Romance Book Bingo. I originally had thought that I would maybe do like a drawing to put together a second card. I'm still working on my first original card, but I'm also reading other books that fit other challenges. So I don't know whether to just put all of those into a card and call it done, or I don't know. I'm thinking on exactly how I want to do it. There's only 2 weeks left in August, and I don't know. It's probably too late at this point to do anything like that, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. I hope you are having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.